Ready for what? Ready for what? We're here for performative corporate wokeness. That's what you need to be ready for. From Twitch! March is Womxn's History Month. Join us in celebrating and supporting all the Womxn creating their own worlds, building their communities, and leading the way on Twitch. Now, you know what? I'm going to try to be a little bit instructive here. This isn't something that I normally do, at least not to this extent, but I'm going to try, okay? I'm going to try here. So, Twitch deleted that tweet, which means that you can't see all of the hate underneath it. Now, this was a pretty spectacular decision because if you're online, this Womxn, I'm going to keep saying Womxn, by the way, that term is despised by everybody, actually. Lefties hate it, and conservatives hate it, and I think pretty much all liberals, with the exception of an incredibly small subset, hate it. Everybody hates it. And again, because the tweet was deleted, I can't show you all the hate underneath it, but Twitch later took it back. And over here we have the apology tweet. While we originally wanted to use a word that acknowledges the shortcoming of gender binary language, after hearing directly from you, including members of the LGBTQIA+ community on Twitch, we will be using the spelling women moving forward. We want to assure you that we have and will continue to work with the LGBTQIA+ community. We're still learning. Our good intentions, by the way, I can't wait for this to be shortened to queer, okay? Queer has basically been reclaimed by everyone under the age of like 100. So one of these days, people will just say queer, and I can't wait. One syllable. Our good intentions don't always equate to positive impact, but we are committed to growing from these experiences, doing better, and ensuring we're inclusive to all. So now, if we run down the Twitter thread, you'll see people who are mad, you'll see people who are supportive, you'll see a lot. So I want to answer a question, okay? Now, I know what you people want, okay? You want a cis guy, and a man at that, yeah, cis man guy, one might say, to explain why people dislike the term Womxn and why Twitch got the backlash that it did, okay? It's pretty simple, but just in case anyone doesn't know, because I feel like very often people get wrapped up in this discourse, and they don't even know the underlying reasons why other people are involved in the discourse. They don't, like, they're not, they know they're supposed to be mad about something, but they don't necessarily know why. So I'll put it this way, okay? And I'll explain why, and I'll explain the history. So there have been a lot of false starts when it comes to using language in a way to include gender non-conforming or non-binary people. And that history, the history of that, of those attempts, go back quite a while. Nowadays, we've pretty much sort of settled on calling non-binary people NB, because non-binary NB, NB or NB, you know, and we use they them pronouns, and that, I think that's settled, and people tend to use that pretty well. And there have been these weird sort of, you might say, sort of auxiliary attempts at inclusive language that didn't get taken to as well. And sometimes there's a good reason for that. So I'm going to give you an example, okay? Now, and I'm being a little bit vague here, or I'm being a little generalized here, but what do trans women want with regards to their acceptance from society? What's the thing they want more than anything else? Trans women. Binary trans women. I'm looking for it. There are many valid answers, but I'm looking for the one. Yeah, women. To be considered women, to be treated as women. Yeah, exactly. Women. To be treated as women, okay? There is already an inclusive term for trans women and cis women, and it's women, you know? Nobody invented the term Womxn to include both short women and tall women, you know? We all agreed, okay, we'll just call them all women, you know? We don't need the umbrella, it already has room for all of them. Trans women don't want to be a Womxn. They don't want to be a woman with a Y. By the way, while Womxn with the X instead of the E has sometimes been used by well-intended people. The Womxn with a Y is almost exclusively used by TERFs. Also up there with Womb-in. M-O-M-B, no, sorry, W-O-M-B-Y-N. So womb, like here, Y-N. Yeah, yeah, that. No, it's TERF language, yeah. Now, generally, when people use the Y instead of the E, I instantly assume they're a transphobe, they hate trans women. I don't think Twitch does. I think that this was a well-intended, effort at being inclusive. The reason why people got mad are threefold. There are three primary reasons. First of all, the use of the term Womxn implicitly suggests that the term woman wasn't already including everybody. And the only reason you would ever believe that is if you don't believe trans women are women. There was also some bantering about the term non-binary women, and the idea of a non-binary binary identity is a little bit complicated and a little bit... I hope you've read some gender theory if you want to discuss this with other people. But the vast majority of people who will be conceptually affected by the use of the term Womxn are people who already feel like they're at the fringes of womanhood. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense. It's like, this is the thing that will affect most severely the people who feel like they're already on the cusp of being excluded from traditional womanhood. The second reason is because this gives ammunition to conservatives. The term Womxn, in addition to being largely unnecessary and really annoying to pronounce and say and everything, it's incredible bait for conservatives. It makes Twitch look like crazy, woke, dipshit, whatever. Yeah, it's just not good. It's just, and it sets gender discourse back too, because gender discourse should be centered primarily, I think, on very, very basic explanations for real experiences that people have. And the more common those experiences are, the more we have to focus on that. There are a lot of binary trans women, there are a lot of binary trans men, and there are a lot of non-binary people. And I think that there are ways to explain and justify and reconcile all of these groups, all of these things, without relying on new age esoteric terminology that baits conservatives. And finally, and the third and most important point, okay, is that this is evidence that Twitch wasn't really listening to people. That's the main issue. Here, somebody posted a web archive of the of the original tweet, which, hold on, didn't they use it in like promotional? No, it couldn't be played. Okay, people are just mad. It's not too late to redo this post. Twitter dyslexic. Never mind, it's too late. What does Womxn even mean? Oh yes, Womxn. My favorite genders, Mexan and Womxn. Yeah. It meant that Twitch didn't really listen, because if you talk to like anybody who's actually involved in gender discourse online these days, nobody's going to advocate for the term Womxn, okay? Nobody is. Seriously, nobody is. I'll tell you who is involved in that term. I'll tell you who will support it, and I'm going to be a little bit stereotypical right now, but I'm going to bet anything that I'm right. I bet you that that decision was made by either one or a collection of white women consultants in their 40s who are clumsily synthesizing information they obtained from what they learned about feminism in school right at the beginning of the third wave, and are applying it to an online discourse that is no longer receptive to those attempts. Now, I could be wrong here, and I'm generalizing significantly, and they really don't have to be white. I don't know why I said that. Cancel me. But that's the feeling that I get. Very often, you know, you have these attempts at performative corporate wokeness, and it turns out that they're just part of a managerial class lazily reiterating stuff they half remember from 30 years ago in school. If you ever want really clear proof that terms like this are not used in, not good faith, they're not used to very good effect, have you ever ever heard of anybody using the term Mexen, MXN, for trans men, cis men, and non-binary male identities? The answer is no. Nobody does. Absolutely nobody does. And do you know why? It's because people are way more concerned, generally speaking, with making sure that trans women don't feel like real women than they are trans men not feeling like real men. There's a greater effort to gatekeep there, which is why terminology like this is so frustrating, because it doesn't happen in the reverse. It doesn't happen the corollary, the reflection. It's usually meant to, at least in application, meant to kind of sort of suggest that if you refer to a group of people as Womxn, okay? There are trans people there, sweetie. There are trans people there. It's not just women. Also trans people there. Trans women. You know, just be careful, you know. That's the implication. And because people don't make those distinctions in male spaces, it kind of feels like a lot of this is being done, intentionally or unintentionally, as a sort of trans panic fear of what might happen if you allow trans women to accept the idea that they're women. Does that make sense? Now, I don't think all of this is done maliciously. I don't think all of this is done deliberately. We have a lot of ingrained ideas when it comes to stuff like this. But that's why people got mad. Oh yeah, speaking of, you know the Latinx, that one? You're familiar with that one, I assume. Also, the inclusion of an X in a word with a demographic significance that is generally not preferred by the people who use it. This is dumb. Latinx is not the same Pepe mods. No, but it is similar because it's an imposition of a different set of values on a language standard that isn't really used by the people who actually apply, who are a part of the demographic. It's pronounced Latine. It's Latinx as far as I'm concerned, and you're not going to move me off of that. Poll on Latinx. 1 in 4 Hispanic. Oh, here we go. Oh, here we go. This is good. 1/3 who have heard the term Latinx say that it should be used to describe the Hispanic or Latino population, so only 1/3 say it should, 2/3 say that it shouldn't. But among all Hispanics, other panethnic terms are broadly preferred. Among each group, percent of whom would prefer the term blank to describe the Hispanic or Latin population overall. Wait, who prefer the term, oh, I see, Hispanic, Latino, and then of Latinx, whew, look at that. Like, tiny compared to Hispanic or Latino. So the vast majority of this 1/3 approval are whites. These are white people. Probably about 9/10 of this is white people. Got to be careful with those terms. You know? Latine just sounds so much nicer. No, it doesn't. It sounds like latrine, like a bathroom. What's wrong with, why not just Latin? Or Hispanic? What was wrong with Latin or Hispanic? If you don't like Latino because it has a gendered, it has a gendered, you know, bit at the end, then why not just Latin? Does that work? Well, it works, right? Oh, Latin is a gendered term? Oh, I didn't know that. Hispanic isn't gendered. Then just Hispanic. Hispanic doesn't include Brazilians? If I see you people using Latinx in my chat, I'm going to make fun of you, okay? You do whatever you want. Godspeed. Hispanic is the issue of implying Spanish, and it doesn't include some folk. Maybe there's an issue with the single term being used to apply to every single human being who lives south of the border. and also in some parts of Europe, and also in some island countries. Maybe that's the real problem here, okay? Maybe trying to use one term to apply, it's not even continent specific, because we're also talking about Central America and Mexico. Maybe that's the real issue here. That's why we use Latinx. That's why we use... They don't like Latinx. They don't like it. Why would you... Do you... All right. Who's we? How about folks? Folks! Folx. God, whoever came up with that term. Whoever uses that term. Folks, Folks, was already gender neutral. There was no gender connotation to folks. None. Absolutely zero. Etymologically, you can go back a long time. Nope, nothing. Absolutely nothing. But they still had to throw in an X. Yeah, that was CIA. The CIA used X, okay? Colonizers made that term? Yeah. Let people use words, Vosh. Shush and let people use words. God, yeah. Yeah. Jesus. Yeah, but folks is a cool, slightly shorter version. Fuck, relax. Putting an X. Okay, I need to be real with you, okay? Listen up. Putting in an X at the end of a gender-neutral term to make it gender-neutral that you use in your fucking 14-year-old Tumblr RP groups does not make you look cool, okay? Arguing over Twitter that somebody is problematic for finishing folks with KS instead of X does not make you look cool, okay? Adding X, it's not the 90s, doesn't make you look cool, okay? Stop. Please stop, okay? Please. Folks. Folks. The X was added to make it gender neutral, but it was already gender neutral. It's meaningless, okay? All right, we're done arguing. The more I argue against it, the more people in chat are going to support it, so. Adding X does make stuff cool. Yeah. You can't call me Vox, that's copyright. What do you think of Women Plus? What is Women Plus? What does that mean? Who's the plus? Who's the plus group? What's the plus? NB people? Why would NB people want to be included in Women Plus? Anything could be in the plus. Women Plus could be all humans. Yeah, is it the premium version of women? More booba? What? Fat women. Fat lesbian. I don't know what Women Plus is. I don't know. What does that mean? Women Plus is anti-NB. It assumes AFAB NBs are still women. Yeah, that's like the vibe that I get from it, you know? That's the feeling. I'm Hispanic, and for me, Latinx sounds like white people gentrifying the Spanish language. Well, the data seems to support that interpretation, so, you know? But no, I'm the problematic one for aligning my position with those of the vast majority of fucking Hispanic and Latin people. I think I just use Latin. Is that bad? Can I just say Latin? I think Latin's fine. You're pronouncing Latine wrong. Latine. No, I like Latin.